Dante's Inferno, a classic tale illustrating the 9 circles of damnation, but unfortunately, it's a book, and none of you know how to read. That's okay though, I can't either, and I would rather breach the gates of hell than learn, and I'm dragging you down with me. The first circle is Limbo. The people who were here weren't necessarily bad, but apparently they weren't good enough to get into heaven. Dante described them as unbaptized yet virtuous pagans, so basically, they committed the crime of think different. You'll find that in the time Dante lived in, being different was the worst sin of all. Obvious commentary is obvious. The second circle is Lust. It's ruled over by Menos, a big snake man. He examines the crimes of all those who find themselves trapped in the Inferno, and he sentences them to spend eternity in the circle that will suit their sins. The lustful spend eternity in the snake man's horny jail dimension, being battered by smelly winds. This was considered the least of the sinful acts that could lead to one's damnation, so regular viewers of r/butt sharpies can rest easy knowing that you'll only go to the second circle. The third circle is Gluttony. This is where it starts to get ugly. This is where people who gave into extreme excess in their lives remain for eternity. They've morphed to resemble large maggot-like gelatinous masses. Too fat to move, they lie immobile, being pelted with sewage and putrid filth that constantly rains from the sky. A giant 3-headed hellhound named Cerberus roams this land. Whenever he comes across one of these wiggly jiggly squiggly pigglies, he mauls them for a while before getting bored and moving on to the next large mass of gluttonous sinner. I'm wondering what happens when someone commits multiple sins. Like, do they just go to the worst circle? I just know a lot of perverted people who also really love hamburgers, and I want to know if we're going to the same place. The fourth circle is Greed, and this circle was divided into 2 groups. Each group would be placed on opposite sides of a mountain, and they would have to push a bag of valuables to the top. They would meet at the top and argue about how the other one is dumb for hoarding or squandering. They would knock each other and the bags down to the bottom of the hill during the fight. And then this cycle repeats again and again, like the Sisyphus ripoff that this part of the story is. I would be like, I'm literally in hell, this is terrifying, but whatever. I mean, I know it's supposed to illustrate how their greed blinds them, but like, not a single one of them would stop for a second and realize after the millionth time this has happened. The fifth circle is Wrath. This circle is a swampy marshland where the wrathful fight each other on top of the surface of the water, and the sullen remains sunken below. This one's kinda boring, so we're gonna move on to the sixth circle, Heresy. This was a place for people who believed the soul died with the body, so they pursued pleasure in life to the maximum extent, and they did not participate in religion. For the crime of think different, these people were burned in a box. Forever. The sixth circle is Violence. This circle was divided into 3 sections categorized by the type of violence the sinner committed. I'm beginning to notice a theme here. I think Dante characterized the devil as that hyper-organized kid in the class that had 14 pockets in their pencil case for each mechanical pencil, dividing all their notes with color folders. Not for me. If I was in that class, I'd stuff all the souls into one folder and get on with my day. To get to each unique area, you gotta get past a huge minotaur. Once you evade the consequences of an unholy matrimony between man and bull, you'll get to the first section. The first area was for people who committed violence against their fellow humans. They were submerged in a river of searing hot blood. How deeply they would be submerged depended on the severity of the violence. If it was a little bit of assault, they might be waist deep, but if they murdered, they're going swimming deep in that crimson pasta pot. This area is guarded by centaurs with bows on the sides, taking pot shots at anybody trying to escape the river. The second area of the 7th circle was for violence against oneself, aka doing the go commit die. Dante considered the sin of ending one's life as an insult to the body, so these souls are no longer allowed to take human form. Instead, they're turned into sentient, gnarled, thorny trees created by twisting the human physiology to unrecognizable ends. This forest of flesh is also populated by harpies, which are like an anthropomorphic bird lady. The harpies survive off of the meat and the blood of the human pseudo-trees. As the trees bleed, they begin shrieking like someone who was turned into a goddamn tree that's being eaten by a bird-loving furry's fantasy. Is a bird-loving furry a feathery? Anyways, these trees are only allowed to talk when they're broken and bleeding. I'm sure some English teacher thought of a beautiful metaphor about feeling trapped and only being able to express oneself through pain, but I'm gonna duck so it flies over our heads because this show has too much edgy cringe as it is. The third section of the 7th circle is for people who committed sins against God, art, and nature. This section was filled with blasphemers, usurpers, and quote-unquote sodomites. This area was barraged with fireballs at every moment, so every soul here was constantly burned by this hailstorm. Afterlife hack: to get a triple threat, usurp a ruler and then sodomize them while yelling, "Oh God!" to really FC this whole third section of the seventh circle thing. If heaven really exists, and it really follows human beings' morality at the time, would they start to let the sodomizers into heaven after public opinion changed? Hey, sorry we put you through damnation and torture for what you thought would be forever, but like, society has evolved now, so I'm like super cool and accepting now, and you can come up to heaven if you want. But we're cool, right? The 8th circle is fraud, which is also separated into a ton of different pits. My favorite of these pits, the 9th pit, is for people who sow discord between others. A demon brandishing sharp swords roams this land, slicing up any sinner they come across. The sinners crawl around mangled for a long time while their wounds slowly heal, and when they're just barely healed, he comes up and does it again. And this goes on forever. Religious discord sowers were sliced from tongue hole to bung hole, goo hole to poo hole, leaving them like this. So in political discord, got your throat slashed, your tongue cut out, and your face just generally sliced up. And sowing discord within your own family would have your head cut off and you just carry it around with you. What I don't understand is, how is your head supposed to grow back onto your neck if it's chopped off and you're carrying it around by the hair like a grocery bag? At the end of this circle is an abyss containing a monster called Geryon. Geryon is a monster of fraud, with a reptilian beast body, wings, a scorpion tail, and a trustworthy human face meant to deceive others into trusting it. The only way to get down to the next circle is on its back, so it's incredibly risky, seeing as this beast could easily turn a human being into an assorted pile of viscera. The only thing that'd have an easier time turning a person into a stain is the Grand Canyon-sized drop to the last circle. So how about you shut up and get on the lizard scorpion man thing? The last circle of hell is a cold, barren wasteland called Treachery. You know how that person you're dating said they'd do that really weird thing for you when hell freezes over? Show them this video. You're welcome. Depending on who you betrayed, you were frozen at a corresponding deepness in the ice. While most people were frozen neck deep, people who betrayed guests lay face down in the ice while their tears turned to icicles in their eyes, and traitors to the Lord were completely frozen in ice. At the center sits Lucifer, who was half frozen in ice, and he flaps his wings to keep all of the sinners nice and refrigerated. He has 3 faces, all with razor-sharp teeth. His body constantly weeps pus and blood. He gnaws at the feet of Brutus and Cassius, letting their bodies hang from his 2 side mouths. His center mouth constantly feasts on the head of Judas while it regenerates. I guess at the time this was written, these were the 3 worst people in the world. The world was a lot simpler then. Someone could pinpoint the most evil person in the world, and everyone just agreed. Nowadays, we got so many monsters running around that Lucy would need more heads than an echidna dick. A lot more, because an echidna dick only has 4 heads. It's important to remember that this is a gross oversimplification of a long and very complex piece of writing with a lot of meticulously interwoven details. Imagine that this pile of moist, dripping meat is Dante's Inferno, and I'm cramming it into a sausage grinder to make it more easily digestible. You could eat everything separately over a longer span of time, and know much more about each food. But lots of people like hot dogs. Nothing wrong with hot dogs. If you like this video, subscribe, hit the bell with all notifications enabled, comment, like, watch all of my other videos, go and watch every single playlist on my channel multiple times, buy a million stickers from my Redbubble shop, maybe a hoodie, who knows, you know, something, I don't know, watch more things. If you like this, maybe watch some other stuff about demons I made, because for some reason, I have a strange fixation with them. I am pleased to announce that U of AzFk is opening the Worm Snorting Club. To participate in the Worm Snorting Club, all you gotta do is retweet my most recent tweet. At the end of every time we have a meeting of the Worm Snorting Club, I will shout out the best worm snorter on my Twitter. This week's Worm Snorter of the Week is @ChonkySandman. I want to thank the artist that worked on the show this week. We got Supik, you should go check out his account, he'll be in the comments. He drew these things. We got Axlo, he said he didn't want to link an account, he drew these things. We also got Dark Charcoal, his account will be linked in the comments, and he drew these things. They're all great artists, and you should go check out their pages. As always, like, sub, and hit the bell, and I will see you all in hell.